Hello, YouTube. Thank you for joining us back here on Retro TV with Lumpy, Bob and Bird. And if you found us by accident, very warm welcome. Don't go anywhere, because today we are chatting with a legend of a cool TV show, Rainbow. But is it Bungle, Zippy or George?
Well, Lumpy, I'm proud to introduce to you the one and only Ronnie LeDrew.
Who?
Well, there he is. Why don't you ask him yourself? Hi, Ronnie.
Hi, Ronnie.
Hello, hiya.
Hi.
So, Ronnie, why have we never seen you on Rainbow?
Because you see, I'm a puppeteer. Now, what's a puppeteer do? He works the puppets. And so I'm hidden underneath, you see. So that's why you don't see my face.
But you were always behind the wall, because if he was always through the window. Why
that's
they were
right.
George outside?
That's it, or in the garden behind a wall or whatever. We're always behind something. I tell you what, though, I will tell you now that I did appear with Zippy on a couple of programs. I think there was a program called Fast Food, and we were like in we're supposed to be in a cafe or something. And so I had the puppet up and I was just sitting there as one of the people in the cafe. So there is a few little glimpses of me occasionally, but I mean, you know, you'd have to go through over 1,000 programs to try and find out which one it is, and I can't remember them all, unfortunately.
So how did Rainbow start? How did you get? Because you started at the Little Angel in Islington, the puppet
That's
theatre.
right. Yeah, I started as a 15-year-old boy, and I sort of went to the puppet theatre there and saw wonderful puppets. But I'll leave that for now. I'll tell you about the Rainbow start.
That's all in the book.
Oh, indeed, it's all in. Oh, wrong way round. Look at that. Oh, that's a good start, isn't it? Oh dear, oh dear. Here we go. Zippy would tell me off for doing that wrong. There you go. It's all in the book, Zippy and me. But I'll give you a rough idea. Basically, I was working at the puppet theatre, but I also got a phone call from a friend, John Thurtle, who was a puppeteer who took over from the first puppeteer of Rainbow, which was a lady called Violet Philpott, and she was a mentor of mine and John's and lots of other puppeteers. She was a wonderful glove puppeteer. Anyway, so she sadly hurt her back. John Thurtle came in to take over for a bit, but then he was asked to do work on his own program. Well, I say his, it was his partners and his, Ian Allen and John Thurtle. They were playboard puppets, and they've started working on a program called Button Moon, which I'm sure you'll remember, because it was, you know, very popular. That's right. Anyway, so he phoned me up and said, look, Ronnie, you know, would you be interested in taking over from me, because I've really got so much on making the puppets and blah, blah, blah for this new series. So I said, yes, of course, it'd be lovely. Anyway, I went along and had an interview with the original producer, a lady called Pamela Lonsdale. And she chatted to me over lunch and everything, very nice. And then I went downstairs into the Studio 3 where we recorded the programs, and I saw 2 programs being recorded, because it was a Wednesday and they always did 2 programs on a Wednesday. Anyway, and I met the cast. I mean, obviously I knew John. I also knew the other puppeteer who was working. It was a lovely puppeteer called Valerie Heberden, and she was really fabulous. And I'd worked with her at the Little Angel, as I did with John. So I sort of knew, us puppeteers seemed to know each other, you know, quite well. Anyway, I sort of met everybody else and they all seemed very nice. And then Pamela sort of said, look, you know, when can you start? And I said, oh, well, you know, almost straight away, if you like. Anyway, I started, and I've got a date somewhere. I don't know what I've done with my bit of papers, but I think it was in October 1973. And that was my first sort of working of Zippy. And I think it was a program about buses or something, or transport. Anyway, and I remember singing The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round, you know, that song for the kid. And so that's how I started. It was literally a phone call. I mean, I was very lucky, really. And I still carried on working at the Little Angel at weekends. I wasn't married then. I didn't have a family. I lived in a 1-bedroom, you know, sort of, you know, flat, a room in a house near Islington. So I mean, I was quite a struggling poor puppeteer in a way. Puppeteers don't earn masses of money. I mean, the telly money came in very handy, thank you very much, and it was wonderful. And eventually, of course, I got myself a flat and then got myself a house and, you know, had a car. I mean, I never thought I'd be driving a car. So I had a, you know, managed to buy a car and stuff like that. So over the years, I mean, Rainbow was, you know, wonderful for all that. And I met my wife. I've got, you know, I've got 2 children. They've grown up now, and I've got 4 grandchildren. So, yeah, I mean, life was wonderful, really. Rainbow was a great help for me for all that side of things.
I loved Rainbow when I was young.
Oh, good.
Is Rainbow part of the grandchildren's lives? How old are the grandkids now?
Well, the grandchildren now, the eldest, Daisy, she's 11, and Theo will be 11 in November, and Olive is 9, and Felix is 9 as well. They didn't see Rainbow, obviously, right at the beginning because they're, you know, too young. But I'd given them sort of, by that time they were around, I gave them some DVDs of the program, and they knew that I was this puppet man, you know, that worked puppets. And anyway, when it was their birthdays, of course, Dad, you know, Granddad was always asked to come along and entertain. So I brought, you know, puppets along. I have a bag full of puppets, which I call my brilliant bag show. And I do puppets out of a bag rather than have a great big stage and all the rest of it. They didn't live in, well, they don't live in London now. My grandsons live in Manchester and my granddaughters live in Derby. So, you know, it was always a journey to go and see them, but it was wonderful and they're lovely. And I've just, I think it was week before last, I was staying with my daughter who has the granddaughters, and I was in Derby for a few days seeing them. So it was really nice. Yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely. So you've got a great position in a great TV show, and you must have met some great stars that came in to guest on Rainbow.
Yeah, I was terribly lucky. I mean, we had all sorts of wonderful people. I'm going to look for my bit of notes because I always forget who these lovely people are. I found them now. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me. I'm being a bit naughty. I should have had this in front of me. Here we go. Now, I mean, I know some of them were absolutely lovely. I'm looking down at me to find my notes. But, and it was some of them, here we go. It was lovely. People like Pat Coombs, who was very much, she was a funny comedy actress, character actress, lovely lady. She came in several times and played auntie, you know, to the Jeffrey's auntie, and of course it was the puppets auntie and everything. We had Patsy Rowlands, who was another wonderful comic actress. Yep. We had, well, the most famous one, I suppose, was Ernie Wise. He came in from Morecambe Wise, and it was after Eric had died. And Ernie was, you know, doing stuff on his own. And we asked if he would be interested in doing a program. It was a program that about jokes, and Zippy, of course, brilliant at everything, thought he could tell brilliant jokes. Well, of course, he was having a bit of a problem. And Ernie came in and helped him out, you know, to tell him how to do the jokes. That was great fun to do. And I think you can see that one on YouTube. I think it's available there. Who else have we got? Oh, we've got Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, wonderful. She came in and read a story. We had Beryl Reid at one time. We had, Julian Glover. I can't remember. I mean, we've had so many different people. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. And they used to come in and read the stories. You know, they were like guest storytellers. And sometimes they were part of the program. Pat Coombs was, because she was an auntie, became part of the program. She was written in the script as well, which was lovely. A lot of the storytellers just came in to read the story, and you know, Jeffrey would open the Rainbow book, and then you'd look through the rainbow, and there was somebody sitting on a rocking chair, and it was whoever it was, you know. So that's how it works.
Who were you most starstruck with? By?
Oh my goodness, I love Judi Dench. She's funny. She was hilarious. I'm trying to remember. We had Felicity Kendall, who I was a little bit starstruck on. She came in. She was in at the time. She was doing the I think it was, what was it? The I've forgotten the name of the series she did for the BBC, and she
Good Life?
sorry,
The Good Life.
The Good Life. Thank you so much. Yeah. And oh my goodness, I was really looking forward to meeting her. But all of them were lovely, really. There wasn't anybody that was, you know, standoffish or anything like that. I mean, we were all in a tiny little green room. You know, we'd all had to share the same room, and we'd sit there and Jeffrey would introduce the people because he was a face. Nobody, they wondered who we were. We could have been cleaners sitting in that room, you know. But and then we were told, oh well, you're the puppeteers of Zippy and George. Ah, right. So no, it was lovely. We had such fun.
Was there any animosity or disputes on set? Because I did read in the book somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that as it probably got into the 80s, Stanley Bates, who played Bungle, the original Bungle, sorry, the second Bungle, because the first
that's
one was
right, John Leeson. Yeah, John Leeson was the first, and Stanley took over. That's right. Yeah.
So John Leeson, who people would know as the voice of K9 from Doctor Who.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Then
a lovely man, by the way. A really nice man. I met him at a Comic-Con recently, and he's absolutely charming. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. John Leeson, then Stanley Bates, but also Roy Skelton, who was born about 10 minutes away from where we are right now, in Nottingham. He also wrote some of the episodes.
That's right.
Was there any conflict over that?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of a bit. It was very funny. You can imagine we'd done, I don't know how many episodes of Rainbow. Our original producer had moved on to do some drama, and another producer came in, Charles Warren, and he suddenly suggested, at one stage through the 80s, how about the cast members, would they like to write some scripts? And he invited all of us. I had too much on. I was working at the Little Angel and doing Rainbow, and I just felt I didn't have time to do all that. And anyway, but Roy was very happy to write some. Jeffrey wrote some. Freddie Marks wrote some, and Stanley did. So 4 of the cast members started to write. Stanley, in fact, had left Rainbow shortly after he started writing the script. No, I think he'd left before he started writing the scripts. But what happened was he was quite happy to carry on writing scripts, although he wasn't actually in the program. We had Malcolm Lord, who was George at one stage, puppeteer, friend of mine. He had been to drama school, and he was very happy to take over the Bungle role. He was similar sort of size to Stanley, so he was able to fit into the Bungle costume. So anyway, Stanley continued writing, but there always was a bit of a conflict. It was very funny. The conflict would have been that when we had other script writers writing, we'd have what we call a read through on a Friday. And we'd all sit together with the cast and we'd go through the scripts. And because we've been doing it for so long, we sort of knew our characters very well. And if there was a sort of a line in a script that didn't feel right, we'd say, I think Zippy would say this, or so-and-so Jeffrey would say that, or blah, blah, blah. And we were quite happy to sort of not criticize, but make those mentions to the producer and the director of the programs. So anyway, when it came to the cast writing it was a bit more difficult to sort of say, Zippy would never say that. And if Roy had written it, because he used to do the voices of Zippy and George. So it was a little bit tricky to say it. But no, the funny thing with Roy's scripts was there was a sort of joke we used to have. Roy always overwrote. I mean, it's better to overwrite than to underwrite a script. And we'd sort of get the scripts in, and we, without even looking at the cover who wrote it, we'd go, that must be a Roy script because it felt heavy. And that's Jeffrey's. It was, those sort of things. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I had a preference. I absolutely adored Stanley Bates's scripts. I thought they were really good. He gave equal space for the puppets, for Jeffrey, and for all, the characters. Sometimes, I mean, bless him, lovely Roy, who's no longer with us, but he sometimes would, it was very nice for us, but perhaps emphasize Zippy and George a little bit in his programs. And, Jeffrey might think, well, I don't know what I'm doing here, really. It's Zippy saying all the lines. So we used to sort of try, that was amended a bit. But that would be the only conflict. We were very lucky, we all got on. I mean, we worked together for over 20 years. I mean, it's extraordinary. And we didn't, there was disagreements sometimes, but not anything that hung over forever and ever. And nobody hated each other. Nobody had a sort of, angst at all. I think it would have shown in the programs if it did, because, children's programs, it would have been, awful if we'd all, been like that. But we weren't. We all got on really well. And I think we all respected each other. And it was a great job, because we'd be there for a series of I suppose the early series we'd spent about 20 weeks together, doing these programs, and then would be a break, and then we'd come back and everybody would say, oh, what did you do? We didn't see each other in the breaks. It's quite funny, it was always very much like we get on with our own lives. And then we'd come back and say, oh, do you have a holiday, or what did you do? Blah, blah, just general chat. And usually, somebody might have said, oh, I made I remember Stanley was in a wonderful film, a very funny film called The Theatre of Blood, with lots of well-known stars. And he had quite a nice part in that. I remember him coming back saying, oh, I had a film part. Oh, did you? Or what did you? Anyway, and all this sort of stuff. And they said, what did you do, Ronnie? And before I opened my mouth, they said, I bet you were at that Little Angel Theatre again doing shows. Like, well, yes. And then I might be doing my own glove puppet shows, or I might be teaching puppets, or, all that sort of stuff. So, we really got on well. But I think that would be the only time there would be a little bit of conflict, would be over the scripts, and whether there was too much for the puppets, or a little less for Jeffrey, or not enough for Jeffrey, or, whatever. But we got over it. It was fine.
Well, we can see the I was going to say the main man, but Zippy's been described as all kinds of things, from a baked bean with a zip to some sort of frog. I mean, sorry if he's listening, but what
it's all right. He's very quiet at the moment. I didn't zip him up, but I've told him he's not to speak till later. So that's all right. Anyway, no, you're right. I mean, it was very interesting. We used to get loads of letters from fans and people, and eventually they'd go to the office, and then sometimes they'd come down to us in the studio days. And so Roy and I remember getting together and saying, look, everyone's asking, what is Zippy? And and you're right, they said, oh, is he a baked bean with a zip, or is he a frog, or what is he? And so we put our heads together, and we called what we ended up with, he is a unique, he's just Zippy is just Zippy. And that's how we did it. So if anybody wrote, we used to say if anybody was answering, some of the secretaries to the producers and stuff would sometimes answer the letters, because we didn't see them all. There was quite a few. And they'd say, well, what is Zippy? Oh, he is an unique. And that's what I still today, when I take him out for things, people ask it, say, well, he's unique. There he is. That's him. And that's how I get, that's how we call him. So, yeah.
Well, Lumpy's got a few questions for Zippy. So,
oh, right. Well, I've got Zippy. There's the big Zippy, but little. Oh, here he comes. Here's little Zippy, and he's be very happy to answer. Now we've come close to the camera so you can see him. I'm just going to move my books out of the way off my lap. Come on. Oh, Zippy. Here we go. Right. Here he comes. He's going to be there.
Hello, Zippy.
Hello. Lovely to see. Oh, look. It's my tweet over there. Have you got a question for? Because I'm ready to answer them.
I'm feeling a bit starstruck at the minute.
Oh, don't be starstruck. It's only me.
So, one of the questions I've got for you is, to start with, who was your best friend in the Rainbow House?
Well, I have to say George, because you see, he was Pink Hippo, and he's very, very nice. And of course, he was my foil, if you know what I mean. I could say things, and he'd just say, yes, no, yeah, that's my impression of George. Any more questions?
Yeah, did anybody get on your nerves?
Oh, yes. Shall I tell you? I go very close to the camera. It was Bungle Bods. He always got on my nerves. He sometimes thought he knew everything. Well, I know everything, not Bungle.
Have you done anything since Rainbow? Or have
Oh,
you
yeah. I've appeared on all sorts of programmes. I did an advert for Marmite. I hated it. But I also have been on The Last Leg on Channel 4 quite a few times. I've done, I think I did the Generation game years ago. I did, I did a very good programme. A news program, but I forgot what it was called, but it was very good. But yeah, I do quite a few things when I'm asked. I've even been on the James Whale show on Talk TV. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I do lots of things really when I'm asked and when I get paid.
Excellent. So is there anything you'd like to do in the future?
Oh yes, I could have my own chat show. I think I'll be very good at that, and I'd have loads of guests on. Yeah, loads of very good guests. Yeah.
But Zippy, but surely you'd have to let them speak as well.
Well, I would, but only a little bit because it is my show. He knows me, that one.
So if you could take part in a start again.
Yeah.
If you could take part in a TV reality show, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Which would you take part in and why?
Well, you see, I have been on MasterChef and I was quite good. I don't know whether that's a reality show or not, but I think Big Brother, you see, because you see, I could tell people to be quiet if they got on my nerves, and I could have great fun. I could do all the games. It was quite good. I think that one, but I don't know. I'll always be happy to be asked to do these programs.
If ever they brought back X Factor, you'd be there like a shot, because you always said you were the best singer in the world.
Oh, no, that's very true. Yeah, I can sing. I might be, well, some people call me a bit flat with a sing, with the tunes, but I know, I am great because you see, I am Zippy and I am unique.
Well, thank you for taking me right back to my childhood.
Oh, thank you. Judo, you don't look older than 22. It's amazing. My goodness gracious. Anyway, I'm going now because I might say something rude. You don't want me. Lovely to see you all. Yeah, bye. Oh, well, there you go. My goodness me.
So from was it from Rainbow that you met Matthew Corbett?
Yes, it was. Matthew was originally a singer on Rainbow. It was Jane, Rod, and Matthew when they came in. I mean, they were singers before them, but when they were on, Matthew was one of the singers. Anyway, he did, I think he did about 2 series. He might have done a few more. And sadly, one Christmas time, his father, Harry Corbett, famous for Sooty and Sweep, had a very serious heart attack. And he was taken into hospital. He was in the middle of doing his theatre show at the Mayfair Theatre. And Matthew, being his son, stepped in to take over the Christmas show. And he managed to I think he wrote scripts on some of the words of the script on his cuff or something to look down and then anyway, he managed to do it all right. And then I think the agent said to him, look, Matthew, Harry is got to take a long time to recuperate, after his heart attack. He's not going to be well enough maybe to front the next TV series, because by that time Harry Corbett had moved from the BBC to Thames Television, as it happens, and he did the Sooty show there. And with the Sooty show at Thames, there was an audience to watch the show. There was filming. There was 2 weeks of filming going on. It was a much bigger show, and it was great for them. Anyway, so Matthew then had to decide whether to continue on with Rainbow or to take over the Sooty show. And eventually, I think he did it. He took over the Sooty show, but he did it in a way that he owned Sooty. Basically, he bought the rights from his dad, and it was Sooty Limited, Matthew Cormitt, if you know what I mean, although it's still the family. And of course, he used his father, because his father did recover, ready for that. I think it was, I can't remember what year it was, middle 70s, I think it was. And anyway, Matthew, knowing me and being a puppeteer and everything, knew that we weren't working in the summer, and said to me, look, Ronnie, what are you doing in the summer? Because, you know, we need another puppeteer now, because he used to do Sweep when his father was presenting all the time. And so he said, look, I need a Sweep puppeteer. And so he asked me. Well, of course, I was grown up. I'd grown up with Sooty and Sweep, you know, with Dad watching his father. So I was absolutely thrilled to take over. And I'm very lucky, because look who's come to see you.
Oh.
Here's a Sweep. No, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Sooty. I got it wrong. You're Sooty, aren't you? No, don't do that. No, it's wrong. Anyway, he's going to get his magic wand. Izzy Wizzy, let's get busy. Lovely, very nice. Oh, you're waving, are you? You're just always waving your friends. Oh, that's nice. Lovely. Well, I'll tell you what, Sooty, have you got Sweep with you? Are you going to, pardon? You have? Oh, good. Oh, lovely. He has got. So he's going to go and get Sweep, because that's nice, because I'm sure you'd like to see Sweep as well. So I was very lucky, and very kindly, Harry Corbett gave me a set of puppets, hence you're seeing them here today, which is very nice. So here is lovely Sweep.
Hello.
Oh, he was always my favourite, because he was naughty, you know, or not naughty, but silly, and sort of got on, you know, was a bit silly. So here we go. Here we go. You're gonna speak to them. All right, go on then. That's right. Go to camera.
Hello.
Where's your sausages? I don't know. Oh, my dear. Look, come over here, Sweep. That's right. Wave to the audience. That's it. Oh, I say, they're very nice, aren't they? They're waving back to you. Did you notice? Oh, good. And off you go. Oh, he's going off now. He's there. But anyway, I was incredibly lucky. I did a few series with Matthew, and Harry was actually in the series as well, which was wonderful. So I had a chance to work with Matthew and Harry. And I'll be very quick. I don't know whether they'll show up on the screen, but in my book, which I'm being very naughty advertising, I've got it. There's a couple of pictures with me, with Sooty and Sweep filming. Here we go. I'm sorry, I'm just looking through now, as you can see. Oh, Ronald, you see, I should have these ready, shouldn't I? Really? I think I found it. Here we go. Now, I don't know whether you can see that. That's Matthew. It's a bit blurry. There's now that person down there is me under the table, and there's Matthew there. And I was working Sue there, I think. And Sooty is Harry. You can't really see him, but he's under that. So, you know, us puppeteers have to do a lot of lying around and stuff like that. So there he is. I think you can see there. And then this one is, now you won't see me very clearly, but I am there. If you can see, I'm trying to, they're a bit, it's not terribly clear, is it? But I've got Sooty and Sweep, and they're actually rock climbing, and they're right over there somewhere, I think. And there's Matthew in the yellow. It's a bit tricky to see. I'm trying to make it clearer. Yeah. And then we were filming in Dorset, and they had crash helmets on. That's the lovely director, Daphne Shadwell. And and then look at that. Look at the starry picture of me with the three of them there. I forgot I had my sunglasses on. I think Matthew took it. It was his Range Rover or something. And I said, I want a picture with all the puppets. So that's great. So, I mean, I had a delightful time. And in fact, I've come very soon. I'll be doing some more work with Sooty, because as the years have gone on, Matthew retired after 25 years, the same length of time that his dad did, Harry did. And I'm just looking up the dates. I'm going to be at the Nottingham Puppet Festival, and on the 21st of April, in Nottingham at the Theatre Royal there, I'll be doing, it's 75 years of Sooty and Sweep, and Richard Cadell is the puppeteer, the owner of Sooty Limited now, and Richard has asked me to come and talk about with him and several other company members to talk about the history of Sooty and how I was involved and all the rest of it. And also Zippy and George are coming along to be part of the show as well. So should be great fun. That's on the 21st of April in Nottingham at Theatre Royal.
Well, that's where we're from.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, well, there you go. I can't
so
remember.
you
It's an
down the road.
afternoon thing, I think. I think it's 5 o'clock. I'm afraid I haven't got the time, but yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find out about it. The other thing is we've got Brenda Longman, who took over the voice of Sue. She's been doing it for 40 years, and she's lovely. We've got Brian Sanford, who's the puppeteer of Sweep now. He's been doing Sweep for a long time. And of course, Richard's there. And also myself and lovely Phil Fletcher, who is the puppeteer for Hacker the Dog. And he also did Sweep at a series I worked with Richard on. I mean, I went and joined and filmed with Richard. It's gone out now, that series. There's another one in the can, which is waiting to go out on ITV or wherever it goes out on. But yeah, no, Sooty was such fun to do. And they're lovely. I get on very well. In fact, I just saw Richard on Sunday. He was playing the 75 years birthday show, Sooty, I was in Dartford, and I was at the Orchard Theatre, and there was full house. I mean, it's huge. And I had a quick word with Richard after the show, and we were just saying, you know, what time do you want me to come on, you know, down to Nottingham to see him? But it was really lovely, and the show was great. It's full of fun. He's got a wonderful circus performer doing juggling as well as the puppets doing all their mad things, you know, custard pies in the faces.
Yeah.
Richard does a fabulous magic trick with Sooty and gets one of the kids from the audience to lie on a table. I mustn't tell you too much, but it's lots of lovely things going on. So it's really nice to see them. So yeah, no, Sooty's still got a soft spot in my heart, although obviously Rainbow was the major show that I did for years, but I'm very fond of Sooty and Sweep too.
I'll give it a plug. The Nottingham Puppet Festival, Sooty, This Is Your Life, on Sunday the 21st of April at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5, and as you say, Zippy will also be there along with George, Hacker T-Dog as well, including video clips from Harry and Matthew, with Richard, Brenda, Brian, yourself, and Phil Fletcher. So that's Sunday at Theatre Royal, Nottingham, 21st of April at 6 o'clock. Tickets are still on sale.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. How lovely. I mean, I got the dates down, but I didn't know the time. So that's brilliant. Lovely.
So we'll just wait for our press tickets.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. I'm also opening the Nottingham Puppet Festival, just to let you know too. That's on the 9th of April, and I'm going to be at the Theatre Royal, and I'm doing a sort of talk about, which I'm very similar to what you're seeing now, talking about my life with puppets and stuff like that. And they asked me if I would do that. So I'm looking forward to doing that too. So yeah, it's lovely. I was at Nottingham Puppet Festival just after COVID. That was, I think, when they last had their festival, and I did a similar sort of talk. This is going to be a shortened version, I think, because I think they've got I don't know, you know, dignitaries, Nottingham dignitaries there, so they won't want me to go on for 5 hours talking about puppets. But anyway, I did a show at the cinema there, and I forgot what the name of the cinema was, but we were I was interviewed by one of the people from the Puppet Festival, and that was great fun too. Although because it was shortly after COVID, we had to wear masks, which was a bit boring. You know, to be interviewed with a microphone and a mask on is a little bit weird. But anyway, there you go. But they were very nice, and they remembered me and obviously wanted me back to do this year's stuff. So that's nice.
And that's Tuesday, the 9th of April at 5 p.m. No ticket required for this. But you will need to get in early because it will be first come, first served, basically.
That's it. Yes, I heard that. That's lovely. Oh, thank you. This is very nice having. I normally have to do my own publicity, and here we are. You're doing it for me. It's wonderful. Anyway, what else? I've been talking about Rainbow. I've been talking about Sooty, but I could tell you now about some of the other things I've done.
Yes.
Would you like to know about some work I've done with that wonderful puppeteer, Jim Henson?
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant.
Marvelous. Okay, well, basically, what happened was I was doing doing Rainbow at the time. And of course, when you're in the sort of world of puppetry, you get to hear that people like Jim Henson's coming back again to England. And he'd already done the Dark Crystal film, which was an amazing story. And then he'd also, obviously, in 69, I think it was, or 70 or something like that, he came over and did the Muppet Show, which of course became world famous, and it was absolutely brilliant. And so he was thinking, after he'd done Dark Crystal, he made another Muppet movie, and I can't remember which one it was, all at Elstree Studios. And he'd had this idea to do this other film called Labyrinth, which was a sort of story that he'd made up, but he got a script writer. What was his name? He's anyway, a very well-known writer, wrote it from, and I've forgotten where he was from, and it's dreadful. I should know this, but I'd forgotten. Anyway, it's probably in my book, actually. So he needed some additional puppeteers. I think he'd got about 20, but he decided that when he had the scene with the Goblin King and all these goblins and all these creatures all jumping around, and he was throwing little Toby Freud up in the air, although in fact, when you saw a wide shot, it was very much, it was a puppet version of him, although you wouldn't know. So he wasn't being chucked up in the air physically all the time. When he was held in, and his mum was there right in the, making sure he wasn't going to be chucked around. Anyway, these additional puppeteers were needed. So he had a whole series of auditions. And so we obviously heard about it and thought, oh, this would be fun. And it was in the summer. I thought, lovely, I'm not doing Rainbow, I'll be free. So I got a friend of mine. I'm a bit unusual as a puppeteer. I don't make my puppets. I get people to make them for me. I love performing. But so anyway, this is a puppet that I had made for my audition for the Labyrinth. So oh, hi there, I'm Beanie.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Oh, it's very nice to see you. Anyway, shall I do my bit? Yeah, you do your bit, right? So basically, you could either, oh, he's gone down again. Look, stand up. That's it. Now be good. Well, what he had to do was he had to do an improvised bit. So you do your improvisation. Okay. So he was cleaning himself. You see, that was what he liked to do a lot. He did that. Yes. All right. That's lovely. And then, he's going to do his back. Oh, oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Very itchy. Oh, you haven't got fleas, have you? No, I haven't got fleas. Just a little one. Oh, a little one there. Oh, right. Okay. Anyway, look, come on. So he was doing all this sort of rubbish. And rubbish? It's brilliant. All right. Sorry. That's right. Anyway, so what happened was I did this little act with him, or it was actually, this is a remake of the original one, because the original one, it's over 30 years ago, and he was showing his age. So we got this one made, didn't I? Yes, that's right. Fine. Anyway, so what? Excuse me. He wants to be in the show all the time. And anyway, they said, don't call us, we'll call you. So I thought, oh, well, fair enough. And I remember leaving it was a church hall in Hampstead, because Jim had got this lovely house in Hampstead, which he'd sort of stayed in every time he came to England. Anyway, we went along, or I walked along, and I remember screaming in the street going, oh, I don't know. It was I've never really auditioned. I know it's daft, but jobs seemed to sort of come along, one after another. I was just lucky, if you like. Anyway, I did get a phone call. In those days, it was a phone call, oh, hello, would you like to join, the additional puppeteers, and we'll be starting blah, blah, blah. And so I was on Labyrinth. And so I worked a goblin through one of the plaster holes. It was a huge set, and I will show you again. I'll try and show you, because again, with the book, it's there is some pictures, because it obviously all these stories are in the book. And I did, sorry, you just
it's available from bookstores still and on Amazon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, sadly, it's becoming out, it's just come out of print now. There's me, I had a beard then. That's one of the goblins I did on And there you are, there's Jared's throne, which was David Bowie's throne. and I was sitting there, you know, and sorry, it's clearer when you see it in reality, but that's in there. So yeah, the book is available on Amazon and eBay, but sadly it's now out of print. It's just come out of print, but there's still quite a few on those sort of things, and people, you can find it hopefully. You know, if you come along to a Comic Con or something like that I'm there, I can sign it for you, which I do. Anyway, there you go. So yeah, that was amazing. And after working on Labyrinth, which was a good few weeks in those days, I think I went on to do Little Shop of Horrors, which was a film based on, you know, well, when I say based, it was a film directed by Frank Oz, and that was just, I had a ball on that. Some of the vines underneath the flower. There was the main flower. I just let people know, the story was that there was this young lad who worked in a florist in sort of rather scruffy New York state. I don't know where it was in New York, but, you know, it was not a downtown, you know, nothing terribly exciting. Anyway, he brought this flower, little flower, and gave it to the florist. And I think it was going to be for his girlfriend, Audrey, who lived across the street. Anyway, this flower grew and grew and grew. And what it liked to grow was a little bit of blood. I mean, it's all very scary. And so he'd, you know, give him a little, and then the flower grew a bit more. And eventually the flower was this enormous, huge plant and it had this wonderful voice. And, you know, it had this wonderful song, Feed Me. And so it was, I want blood, or whatever it was. And I did some of the vines underneath, and we had them sort of squirming around while the leaves of the plant was doing. And then there was about 4 people. Brian Henson was one of them. Jim's son was doing the lip movement, but there was also lip movement on radio control as well. And it's the most brilliant song. If you see the film, there's some I mean, I shouldn't say it, but it's some really good puppetry. The lip sync is absolutely brilliant. And one of the reasons why I think it was so brilliant was we slowed up the song. So when it was Feed Me, it was that sort of slow. And yet when you see it on, obviously it's the right speed, but it's absolutely brilliant. And Rick Morales, you know, who was the main lead in it, the young lad, he had to move slowly when the thing was doing, so it didn't look funny when they speeded up the film. All that sort of stuff, very clever. But there's nice bits in that. I had a bit in it where I did the legs of Mushnik, who was the shop owner, who was a bit sort of skeptical about everything. And there was a bit where Rick, you know, there's a scene where Rick is sort of standing there slightly scared, and he said, well, what is going on? This Mushnik was waving his arms about. And he said, well, it's I've got to feed this plant or something. And he's walking back to the plant, and the plant goes, ooh, opens his mouth, and he falls into the plant, and then he's eaten, and you cut to Rick going, ah! And then you cut back, and there's the legs of the Mushnik, and they're all kicking, and I was working the legs behind, you know, because it was all, obviously it wasn't the actor, he got out of the way, and then we did that scene. That was a fun thing to do. And then I did a little vine dialing right at the end of the film. The plant decides to phone up Audrey. He's Audrey too, the plant, and then Audrey, the girlfriend, and she's across in her flat. And he phones, and he puts, you know, a couple of dimes or whatever it is into the pay phone, and then I do the vine where he sort of dials the number, and it's only seconds, but, you know, I think, oh, how marvelous, I did that bit. So that's fun. But yeah, I loved it. I couldn't stay right to the very end, unfortunately. They extended the length of time on the filming, but I was the only one. I put my hand up when the producer said, you know, we'd like to keep you on a bit longer because we're running, you know, we need some more filming to do. And I had to put my hand up and say, no, I'm sorry, I've got a Rainbow series starting. So I had to go, and I couldn't let Rainbow down. I've been doing it for, I don't know, by that time, probably about 10 years or something. Anyway, so that was that. I then went on from Little Shop. I think I did Muppet Christmas Carol with wonderful Michael Caine, who was and is just a charming, lovely man. And the scenes I did were look at puppets, again, additional puppeteer, but looking through the windows of when, you know, Scrooge was walking with Kermit and probably, I think it was Gonzo and Rizzo were talking about, they were narrating the story. Anyway, there was that, but there was a lovely scene I remember very well at the very end when Scrooge, you know, turns over a new leaf and he gives them, the Cratchit family, a turkey, and he presents it down at and the camera pulls out and there's all these people, all the friends, the Cratchits also joining in with the dinner, and I was doing a couple of puppets there. But I remember when they were sort of getting the shot ready, it was basically Michael was on a podium, on a sort of high podium thing, and we were in a pit down below working the puppets above our heads. And so he'd look down and say, "You all right, guys? Gosh, you're doing a great job. You know, I never look at you when you're doing the puppet. I always just look at the puppets because they're so brilliant." Well, you know, what could we say? We'd say, "Well, you're pretty brilliant yourself, mate." But he was really nice, very friendly. And that was a lovely film to work on. That was followed by Muppet Treasure Island, which again was another. Brian Henson was his first film, you know, after Jim had died, or Muppet Christmas Carol. So then he went on to Muppet Treasure Island, and that was great fun to do. We had Jim Curry playing, you know, the main pirate, and lots of lovely character actors in the whole show. And I did all sorts of different. I did some of the Rizzo's cousins, I suppose they were. They all went on holiday. It was quite funny, and they were along the boat. I remember doing that, and I did all sorts of other characters, like pirate characters in the boat, in this huge boat. They had this huge sailing boat they built, and we were actually in it. And then and it was on, you know, rocked up and down. But and there was fights and battle. It was amazing. We did even scenes where we were in the water and we had to sort of pull the boat along or something at one point. But and then after that, after Treasure Island, oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember now. This is where I get a bit vague, because I carried on doing Rainbow. I also then, coming up to date, what was it I did? Oh my goodness gracious. I did a lovely film when this is way back now. I'm going back again now. I've just remembered a lovely film called A Dandy in Aspic, which was, I don't know whether I put it in my book even. I probably forgot about it. I'm terrible at remembering all the things I've done. And that was a film with an English actor called Lawrence Harvey. And that was done probably the late 60s, early 70s, something like before I started Rainbow. And I did the credits, and it was a string puppet, a marionette. And it was a film about a double agent who was working for America and working for, you know, Russia or something at the time. And this puppet was being pulled, and it was quite a clever idea to have the credits as a puppet, and it had strings on, and it was being pulled one way and it was pulled the other way. And I did that, and I was really pleased with that. And you can get that on DVD, and there's one of the DVDs you can get. I did an interview with one of the historians who knows all about the history of the film and all the rest of it, and interviewed me about that. And that was I quite liked that. That was quite fun. So that was another film. But getting up to date, I'm just looking at my list here, because you see, I have to remember these things. The film that I did fairly recently was a film called A Quiet Place, Day One. Now, this is about to come out in June. I've actually, a friend of mine went to the IMAX cinema in London, you know, in Waterloo, and there was an advert for it, and it's going to be on, you know, what do you call it? Not normal 35mm, you know, really big screen. So IMAX size screen anyway, as well as probably being, and it'll be coming out at the end of June. Now, this is very unusual for me because it was, I would call it a psychological thriller, if you like, or a horror picture. Basically, there were two other films made. This is a prequel to the other two, and they were basically, it's about a sort of small town, terrible, strange things happen. These strange creatures sort of appear or something. And if you make a noise, they come and eat you all up or whatever. And so there was a whole thing, and there was 2 films previous to my one. And then last year I was working at another puppet theatre in Norwich, the Norwich Puppet Theatre. Not last year, the year before, sorry. And I was doing Christmas season, and I got this email saying, can you come to London? We'd be interested in using you as a marionette operator, because that's the puppets I first started with. Yeah. And I'm sort of well known for doing those. And I said, well, I can't come to London to talk to you. Could we do a Zoom meeting? So that's what we did. And I did a Zoom meeting with the director and the producer. And they said, well, you know, you'd have to act in it. I said, don't mind, I could do a little bit. You know, you do a puppet act, plus you're in it a little bit yourself as the puppeteer. So I said, oh, that's wonderful. Anyway, just chatting to them, they seemed to say, yes, lovely, you're the person. So eventually I took over. I did the filming, and we did some filming in Clapham Junction in the Grand Theatre, which is actually a music venue now, but they constructed it or changed it, put seats back in the auditorium, and I was on the stage, and I had a marionette little boy puppet, and I did this act. I was like the warm-up act before the main show at the theatre was going to start. But the main show didn't happen because this strange things happened in the theatre. Anyway, that was after my act. They did see my act. Anyway, they filmed the audience first, and then they filmed me doing this puppet act, which is quite fun. So I did that, and then I was asked to come in for another scene where I was in the puppet studio, my puppet studio, and that was filmed in Shoreditch Town Hall in the basement. I mean, it's hilarious, you know. But they went to the Little Angel and hired a whole lot of puppets. So, and I didn't know they'd done this. I just was called for the day, got the costume and the bit of makeup and all that. And I was coming in, and I went, oh my goodness, I know all those puppets. And it was sort of Little Angel stuff. So that was nice. I felt quite at home. I thought it was a proper puppet studio. And I had a scene where I'd come in, it was a torch. All the electrics had gone. I think this monster or whatever they are had been already and caused havoc. And I was trying to see my way, and I tripped up, quite fun, boom, and I fall on the ground, drop the torch, and then I find it again. I get up and I run down this hallway, and I go to the sort of end of the hallway, and I push these doors open, make a terrible noise. There's a warning there. Anyway, and then I touch all these. It's like I suppose, not a fuse box, but a whole lot of stuff at hand trying to turn the lights on, you know, and all that. So I did that, and I go, phew, and the lights suddenly come on. I think, oh, great. And then suddenly, ooh, I get eaten by, I think, by a creature. Anyway, I've told you the whole story, which I shouldn't have done because I signed an NDA, which you're not supposed to talk about it. But anyway, there you go. I've done it now. But hopefully that'll be shown in June, the end of June. And as I say, it's A Quiet Place, day 1. And I'm also did another film. Again, it was last year, because it's, you know, it always takes time for the editing and stuff. This was a short film, and it was called Shakes versus Shav. And it's basically the last play that George Bernard Shaw, the playwright, wrote. And he was quite an eccentric, a wonderful guy. He wrote amazing plays, Major Barbara, and the play that everyone knows is, well, there's the film My Fair Lady, but the play it was based on was a Shaw play called Pygmalion. Anyway, this was his last play, and he'd given up on actors. He thought actors were boring. As I say, he's a bit eccentric. Puppets will be the right thing, you know, so we're going to do it for puppets. So he did this, he wrote this play, and it was a sort of commentary really about himself, because, you know, he liked being quite an egotist, and had and William Shakespeare, and they were having a commentary together, and they were sort of saying, he was saying, oh, I'm very good at doing all this sort of stuff, and don't know about you, but why do you get all the recognition? And, you know, Shakespeare was saying his stuff back, and they have a boxing match, and they both knock each other out, but they get up again and start chatting. But it's quite fun, and it's doing the short film festivals now. It's been, I think it's going to Italy maybe this week or next, you know, very soon. And it's been to America. Hopefully it'll come to a London film festival. and hopefully it'll win loads of awards. It's only a short film. It's only about 25 minutes, but it has some lovely footage of George Bernard Shaw. He died at about 1951, I think, and he was in his 90s, but he was such a character. There's a lovely shot in the film. I've seen a showing of it. It was in a viewing cinema in Soho about a month ago, and it was lovely to see it. And I was quite pleased because, you know, normally your own work, you think, oh, I bet it'll be awful. It won't be very. They filmed it really well. It looked lovely. But there's a lovely shot of Shaw walking down his own garden where he lives. And he's going, oh, what are you all doing here? Well, it's obvious there's a film crew, because in those days they'd have to set everything up. But it was quite, oh, well, if you're here now, you know, it's me, it's George Bernard Shaw. You know, and it's hilarious. So I loved all that. And there's, we had Derek Jacobi playing voice of Shakespeare, and a wonderful actor, Irish actor, very well known, and I'm afraid it's out of my head, I can't remember his name, but playing Shaw. So that should look out for that. There's another thing coming up. Well, I'm telling you future events, but I'm going to Colchester. I'm playing a weekend at the Colchester Castle, which is an arts venue as well as a lovely old, I mean, some of it's Norman, I think. And I'm there on the 5th, 6th and 7th of April. And basically it's a Jerry Anderson event. There'll be loads of Jerry Anderson puppets. There's an exhibition of the British Puppet and Model Theatre Guild's collection of puppets, and I'm the president of that organisation now, which is quite nice to be. And so that's lovely. And then I'm doing a talk about my life and puppets, which you're all seeing on this now. But anyway, I'm doing that, showing puppets and stuff. But I also worked on several children in needs. And one of the ones, not this last year, was the MasterChef one with Zippy and George. But the year before, we did one where we're in a music studio. Fun enough, it was the famous one where the Beatles did, and I've forgotten the name of the studio. That's it. Thank you. And so we were there, and I did one. I think I did Captain Blue from Captain Scarlet. These are seconds, little short bits, but we filmed it. And I also did I think I did one of the Thunderbird brothers as well on that. I think I did Virgil, and they were singing. And also I did Zelda, the witch from Terrorhawks. Did that a bit. That was fun to do.
Was that the Peter Kay single?
Sorry?
Was that for the Peter Kay animated single?
It wasn't that one, but this was another children in need. Not this year's one, the year before. And there was a whole lot of puppets, and because I sort of knew how to work the marionette bits, I was doing quite a lot of the string puppetry on, as well as doing Zippy and George. We were singing a song, you know, and I think. But anyway, and I also did a bit of Muffin the Mule, who was the first television puppet icon, and he's coming along with me to Colchester Castle, because they're really keen to show like the first television puppet. So I'll be showing a bit of Sooty and Sweep. There'll be lots of sort of puppets from the Jerry Anderson series. And then the very first Jerry Anderson series, there was a puppeteer called Joy Laurie, and she did the very first film that he did, which was Twizzle, which was a very, you know, little kid's story by Roberta Lee. And then he did Torchy, and then he went on to do Supercar and Four Feather Falls and all these wonderful ones. But and the Joy Laurie happens to live in, or happened to live in Tiptree in Essex, when of course Colchester's in Essex. And there's a couple of guys who've got her archive, and they're going to be showing some of her work there. So it's going to be a really good exhibition of stuff. If you're interested in puppets at all, I think it'd be a really good. Those 3 days is the days that I'll be doing talks and stuff, but the exhibition I think goes on for at least a month or maybe 2 months, so you'll be able to see it. But you know, if you come along on either the 5th, the 6th or the 7th, then you know, you get to see me, and you also get to see Mary Turner, who was one of the original puppeteers and makers. She made like Marina in Stingray, that gorgeous puppet, and she made, I think, the original Captain Scarlet, and she operated in practically all the series, and she's now in her 90s, but she's amazing. She's incredibly wonderful. So that will be really lovely to see. So I think I've given it. Oh, the May Fair in Covent Garden. That's on, I think it's the 13th of May from about 11 o'clock till 5. And that's at Covent Garden in London. And it's behind the Actors Church in their grounds. And you have, I'm going to say about 40 Punch and Judy shows all around. And the Puppet Guild has a stand, and I shall be there showing puppets and doing stuff. So that's another thing. So that's my latest sort of stuff. Plus, I've been doing some teaching at the Little Angel now. I'm doing a show in the autumn, which is Dogs Don't Do Ballet, and I do a bit of acting. I play Miss Polly, the ballet teacher, and this young girl comes along with her dog, and she's, "Ooh, dogs don't do ballet, get rid of that dog." And so I do a little bit of drag. I mean, drag acting. So, but I mean, that's be quite fun to do. And I did that show way back in 2014, and they're bringing it back to the theatre. And in fact, they've been touring it around with somebody else. I was training somebody else to do my part. I thought I was, I've toured it a lot. I thought it'd be nice for somebody else to do, but I'd like to do the theatre show, if that's all right. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going back to my original part, and that will be through the autumn. So that will be probably, I think it's the end of September, all of October, and some of November. So yeah, quite busy time. I thought, oh, I'm going to, have some time off and not do, but not the case. It's been great. But then, if you're doing a job you love, you don't mind. Keeps you young, keeps you fit. So that's it. I've been wittering on for about 5 hours. I do apologise. You haven't had a chance to ask me any questions. I don't let you have a word in edgeways once I start. Anyway, off you go.
we're very close to the end of our time chatting, but I just wanted to ask, you took over Rainbow in 73, I think you said it was.
That's right.
73.
Yeah.
Did you think Zippy would still be going this long and still be as popular today?
Oh my goodness, no. When I first did it, I mean, we didn't when you're not a face, you're not recognized in the street. So no one's going to say, "Oh, I know you." That didn't happen. So I didn't know. Jeffrey obviously thought, he was very well known. All the singers, they, were recognized. But no, it wasn't really until we started doing, we did the odd opening of Fates and things like that at the weekends, and not all the time. That's when I started doing The Voice, by the way, because Roy lived in Brighton at the time when he had his family, the girls and everything, and he felt that he couldn't just pop up. And also it was really difficult when you do these outside shows. Where do you hide Roy, and how do you've got, there's a whole lot of sound issues as well. So I started Dame Zippy voice, taking, hearing it in my head all the time, because it wasn't too difficult to sort of get a Zippy voice. And when you're doing the puppet, and always puppeteers usually provide the voice to the puppets anyway. It was only that there was a lady puppeteer at the beginning, hence, the original person was a very well-known voice artist called, it's gone out of my head, very famous. He did Bill and Ben, he did the voice. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Oh my goodness, isn't it terrible? See, I do have these senior moments. But anyway, he was, he was brilliant. But he did the first couple of series. But of course, he went on to do the Daleks and Doctor Who, and his mate was Roy Skelton. So Roy did Daleks as well with him. So he just took over the next time round. So that's how he did it. And then I started taking over when, sadly, Roy passed away quite a few years ago now. But and then Thames Television, and this is answering your question again about, well, how would Zippy still be well known? Decided to bring out lots of merchandise. They were terribly late in bringing out stuff, and then eventually, when the series finished, they started producing cups and T-shirts, and also we had the Rainbow Annual that had been coming out, so people had got that. But and then they brought out CDs with the theme tune slightly more modernized and various other songs, and that's when we started doing public appearances. And we originally went to that it was what was known as the Hammersmith Pally, but they had a huge school days. Then that's like a group of adults, but dressed up in school uniforms, and they were having a birthday, and Rainbow was, selling its CDs and stuff. So we did that, and and that was like crowded, and people were queuing up to see the characters. We thought, blimey, they really are, really well liked. And then we started doing student union gigs as well. And that's when I realized there was a huge mass following. And, even today, originally about 8 years ago, I think I was asked to do a Comic-Con, and I thought, oh, you won't want Zippy at a Comic-Con. It's all Doctor Who and Star Wars and all the merchandise, blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, come along. Anyway, a friend of mine, Toby Philpott, was one of the puppeteers and Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars. So he said, oh, well, if you come along, you can come sit next to me and I'll show you the ropes. Anyway, so I had my Zippy puppet, and I had some photographs of the Rainbow characters and stuff. And I sat there, and had loads of people went to the Star Wars thing. I'm sitting there thinking, oh dear. And then people would go by, and then double take, say, is that the real Zippy? And I said, yeah, oh, great. I'm going to have my picture. And then I'd sign a photo. And it suddenly took off. And now I've got a Zippy shirt that I wear with Zippy all over it. And I take them along, and I've got quite a few booked in the future all over the place. And people just love it. And of course, I'm lucky enough got copies of my book now to sell. So that's quite useful. And people buy that. But it's really popular still. I think, if you've grown up, it's been what, I don't know, 4 generations have seen Rainbow, even more than that now, but they see it on DVD or they see it on YouTube, and then the ones that, some of them are grandparents, that have saw Rainbow originally. And I think the puppets you see as a kid, I am too, you don't forget, because they're part of your childhood. And that's what people say, oh, you were part of my childhood. And I think that's lovely. And it's really nice that people love it. And, it's like when I show them Sooty, or so, that's Sooty in the Nude, by the way, sorry. When I show Sooty and Zippy and all that, they all go absolutely mad. And the same with Muffin, believe it or not, even people, Muffin the Mule came out in 1946 and finished on television in 1955 when Annette Mills, who was John Mills's brother, died. But Muffin still carried on in the 60s, and I still worked with the company that did it. And their granddaughter lends me the original Muffin to, take to where, for instance, Colchester Castle I'd be taking it to. But Zippy, I don't know, they stay on people's hearts. The Last Leg people absolutely love it. And he comes on and, it's all live telly, and he does silly things, and it's only brief stuff, but great fun. Long may it go on.
I was just going to say, long may we see more of Zippy and George, and more of your work as well. And can people, is there a website where people come? Is your website, do you want to promote that?
Yeah, my website is Ronnie LeDrew. No, is that my email? Wait a minute. I can't remember. RonnieLeDrew.com, I think, is my website. It's terrible. What you can do is Google Ronnie LeDrew. You'll be amazed. There is so much stuff on that. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on X, is it called now? Not Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Threads, I think it is, or something. I'm on all sorts of things. So, and you can always get hold of me by, on a Facebook thing. You can befriend me if you like. I'm Ronnie LeDrew on Facebook. So, and there's lots of stuff on there. I usually put what I'm doing, so keeps you updated. I do have a website, and I think that you can find that on Google, because I forget it's a bit out of date, I'm afraid.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link below.
Oh, thank you very much. Excellent. Well, I've kept you talking for hours. No, I do apologise, but
we just want to say thank you for your time, and thank you for being our special guest on our first main episode of Retro TV with Lumpy Bob and Bird.
Fabulous! Well,
fantastic. I can't thank you enough.
Oh,
well, thank you, and it's been a pleasure. You've been great to talk to, and you've let me carry on, which is lovely.
That's fine. But we're happy to have nod off for 5 minutes. You just carry on.
Lovely, good. Well, guests like that are probably better, aren't they? The ones that sort of just don't say anything and you have to do all the talking. It, you know, isn't such fun.
We didn't have any questions really set because we just wanted to hear your story, hear your career. And again, let's hope it continues.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure.
Met Zippy as well.
And
oh,
Sweep.
good. Well, I'm glad you met Zippy. Zippy, he'll come and say goodbye to you. There you are. Here he comes. Come on, Zippy. Out you go. Bye-bye, everybody. It's such a pleasure talking to you. That's my brother over there. Bye. Bye. There you go. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Cheers. Bye.
And as a friend of Zippy would say, goodbye.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Yes, George talks like that. It's very sweet. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go. Whoops.